Caitlin Clark just sat down on national television, looked the entire WNBA in the eye, and dropped a warning so bold it's still echoing. This is her second time joining NBC's Basketball Night in America as an analyst, and she showed up with receipts, fresh off an MVP performance at the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, a new CBA that she basically dragged across the finish line herself, and a declaration about 2026 that nobody in that league is ready to hear. The warning she issued to the rest of the WNBA is something we need to talk about right now. Let me know down in the comments below how proud you are of Caitlin for all these opportunities.
One of the most transformative players in the game, Caitlin Clark, and I say the game, not just women's in general, but Caitlin, the last time we had you on, it was February 1st, and I can remember because the next day there were going to be huge meetings between the WNBA and the WNBA about trying to get the CBA ratified.
Yeah.
Here we are.
We did it, baby.
It finally went down.
So before any of the big stuff happened, before the CBA talk, before the championship prediction, Caitlin Clark spent part of her offseason grabbing a camera and shooting courtside photos for the Indiana Pacers. Like,
No, is this a hobby that we're just finding out about?
the Pacers hosted the Lakers that Wednesday, and Clark was right there on the baseline shooting the game. And of course, LeBron James was the main subject because she came right out and said it on NBC. That's my GOAT, honestly. Just flat out, no hesitation. And she had this whole story about trying to make eye contact with him, and she said, "I swear we made eye contact, so I sat down the camera and I smiled at him, and he just looked at me with a straight face. I'm like, he didn't even see me." The whole desk cracked up. But the photos were good enough that she said she wants LeBron to sign them, so clearly the trip was a success regardless.
The new hobby,
It's
yeah.
a new
You didn't
hobby.
even show my pictures of LeBron I took. Did you guys see them?
It's
They
all
turned
right.
I
out-
saw because he reposted them, girl.
Absolutely.
I saw them.
That's
Oh,
your
there it is.
There
Look.
it is.
Yeah.
Is that
Those
your
weren't too
greatest
bad.
shot?
That was
Are
my
you
greatest
claiming
shot.
that's your
Yeah.
greatest shot right
Yeah.
there?
Wait a minute.
That's
Every
not too
artist
bad. I need to
names
print it
their
out, get him to
masterpiece.
sign it for me.
Every
so.
artist names it. What's the name of it?
The king. I mean, that's my goat,
There you
honestly.
go.
So
You know what's
What?
cool about this for you, and Ken Griffey's doing it because of who you are and what you've accomplished, and you're known by players. You're gonna get the best pictures, and you're gonna get everybody to
I
pose
swear
for
we
you.
made eye contact, so I set down the camera and I
And he
smiled
slowed
at
down
him,
for
and
you.
he just looked at me with a straight face. I'm like, he didn't even see me, but the photo turned out well. But new
But you're gonna get
hobby,
the best
I love
pictures.
it. So
People
That post went massively viral. Over 105,000 likes, nearly 10,000 reposts. Because it's just a funny, genuine moment. The best player in women's basketball is out here fangirling over LeBron, shooting photos from the floor like any other credentialed photographer, and completely owning it. That's who she is. She loves all of basketball, not just the parts where she's the star. So then, 4 days later, she's sitting at the NBC desk for Basketball Night in America, her second time doing this, covering the Knicks and Thunder in Oklahoma City on March 29th. Maria Taylor is running the desk, and next to Clark, you've got Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady. 3 guys who have basically seen everything the NBA has to offer for the last 25 years. And Clark just fits right in, talking film, talking X's and O's, giving takes, not backing down from anything.
We appreciate you being here, all the
Absolutely.
hobbies, you coming back from your injury. We're looking forward to watching you. And it's good to have another woman on set, just for a little, even if
I need to
only
come
for
around
one
more
day.
often.
Anytime.
Thanks for having
Caitlin,
me.
you're welcome anytime. Caitlin Clark of the Indiana Fever joining us a little bit here on Basketball Night in America. Look, the jerseys are everywhere. Caitlin, you gotta go find her. That's
No,
the same
she's so
girl.
cute. We're gonna go-
Caitlin, that's
we're gonna
the girl
go
I
find
saw
her right
before
now.
at the hotel.
She found her way here.
Okay,
We're going to
she
find
found
her.
her way here. Go give her an autograph.
And then Reggie Miller's name comes up. And the whole vibe shifts a little, because during Clark's first NBC appearance about a month earlier, the Knicks-Lakers game at Madison Square Garden, Reggie compared her to Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard, a solid player, totally fine player, but if you know Clark's game at all, that comparison is genuinely puzzling, and her fans absolutely let Reggie hear about it. So when it came back up this time, Clark didn't get loud about it or make it a whole thing. She just handled it with this calm, relaxed confidence, made it clear she knows exactly what kind of player she is. And honestly, that response set the tone for everything else she said that night.
It's great to have Caitlin back. I didn't bring up Peyton Pritchard's name, which happened last time with Reg, but Caitlin and Reg just had that whole Indiana.
That's
We're
what
both
we do.
great. Well,
You're not going to break our bond,
That's
people.
right, exactly.
Fever, Pacers, we're bonded together.
Now let's talk about the CBA, because this whole situation was a mess for a long time, and Clark's fingerprints are all over how it finally got resolved. The negotiations had been dragging forever. The Players Association and league ownership were going back and forth, stalling out, not getting anywhere real. And a big part of why it kept stalling was that some veteran players were way more focused on protecting their own slice of the pie than actually pushing for a deal that helped the whole league. The players who needed this deal most, your younger players, your mid-tier earners, the Lexi Hulls and Sophie Cunninghams who grind every single game, they were sitting there watching what should have been a straightforward negotiation turn into a full-on standoff. It was embarrassing, honestly.
When you take a look at what's outlined, what do you feel like is like the most transformative deal point?
I mean, I think the salary and revenue sharing, I think it's as simple as that. And obviously there's a lot of great things in the CBA as we move forward. But I think simply that, I think it sets a precedent for all of women's sports going forward, not just women's basketball, that we're truly valued and the product that we put on the floor is truly valued. So just excited and really thankful for everybody on the WNBA side and everybody on the PA side.
And then Clark basically got on national television and said, enough. Get to a table and work it out. She said it plainly, no drama, but it landed hard because she has the biggest platform in women's basketball by a mile right now. When Caitlin Clark says something on TV, people listen. And the Players Association knew that. The league knew that. So that public push mattered, the conversation shifted, and the deal got done. On the NBC desk, she talked about it and you could tell it genuinely meant something to her. She said she was just excited and really thankful for everybody, and that people put a lot of time and energy into it. She mentioned they had 10-hour meetings. People were up until 4 in the morning. And she was careful to point out they did all of that for the players who weren't even in the room, which is a real thing to say, and she clearly meant it.
People put a lot of time and energy into it, took time away from their families. So they were having 10-hour meetings. They're up till 4 a.m. So just really grateful and thankful. And people were very selfless through the process. So
yeah, I mean, the numbers are astounding. The salary cap goes up like 5 times.
Maybe
the
more,
Supermax, 1.4 million. The average salary goes from like 120,000 up to 600,000. So those are numbers that are undeniable.
Yeah.
Because look at what's actually in this deal. It's a 7-year agreement running through 2032. The salary cap starts at $7 million. Average salaries are going up to around $600,000. Minimum salaries now clear $300,000. And for the first time in league history, players get revenue sharing, a 20% cut of league revenue. That's real money. That's not a participation trophy, that's the league finally treating its players like the product they actually are. Clark didn't stand up and say she made this happen. She's not built that way. But everyone watching that desk knew exactly how much her voice moved this thing forward. And the players who benefit most from that deal, the ones the veterans were willing to leave behind, they know it too.
But so is the growth of women's sports, I feel like. And for someone who's like literally right in the middle of it and everything's happening right now, like what do you feel like your role is in the growth of women's sport?
Man, I honestly think I'm just very much myself. That's how I try to approach it. I'm not here. This was never my goal to change women's sports. Like I just showed up and I played and I loved every single second of it. And
this fast from the CBA, Clark moved straight into talking about expansion. And this is where you realize she's not just thinking about the Fever, she's thinking about the whole sport.
We were talking about expansion, though, for the NBA. Obviously, expansion is happening in the W2. By 2030, there could be up to 18 teams, up from 15.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the growth of the league, too, in general?
Well, it's pretty incredible when I first came in. And even the Fever were playing at smaller venues before I got there. And, you know, now we were at 12 teams. And then my next year, we played at 13 teams. And then this year, we're moving to 15. So there was less than 144 spots when I first showed up in the league. And now we're going to be at, who knows, over maybe 170. And
she ran through the new markets like a fan who's genuinely excited about it. Cleveland, Houston, where the Connecticut Sun is relocating, Philadelphia, Toronto, Portland. The league is growing fast, and Clark tied every single one of those cities directly to something real and practical: roster spots. When she joined the league, there were fewer than 144 spots available for women coming out of college. Now, with all this expansion, that number is pushing past 170. And she made the point plainly. More teams means more players get to stay home instead of packing up and flying overseas just to make a living playing basketball. That keeps the talent here, which makes the whole product stronger for everyone watching. She also talked about the Fever's own journey and used it as proof that investment works. Indiana went from playing in smaller venues to selling out arenas, from being barely a blip in the league's visibility conversation to being one of the most talked about teams in women's sports. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because the league put real resources behind the product and the product delivered.
I think a lot about people in college and girls in college, and I've already heard from a lot of college players on this, is like their dream is to really continue to play basketball because they know it's a real opportunity now. And they also know they're going to be compensated for it, and they're not going to have to go overseas to find a way to be compensated for it. Maybe they'll continue to do both, but I thought that was a really cute thing, and maybe not something that people always thought about is like the dream of the college women's basketball player is still really real for them to become a professional. So I think expansion is a great thing. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think Cleveland's getting a team. Connecticut's going down to Houston, and I think Philadelphia as well. So I'm excited as many places as we can take women's basketball. I think it's just going to help not only women's basketball, but women's sports in general.
Yeah, and this season, you'll see the expansion go to Toronto and Portland.
And then she talked about her own role in all of it, and this part really stood out. She said, "This was never my goal to change women's sports. I just showed up and I played and I loved every single second of it. No grand mission statement, no talk about legacy or impact or changing the game. Just a player who loves basketball, showed up, and let everything else follow from that." She described how she handles the platform she has now by saying, "I honestly think I'm just very much myself. That's how I try to approach it." She said she doesn't always want to put the weight of changing women's sports on her own shoulders. She'd rather just go out there, have fun, and play. And you believe her because there's zero performance in how she says it.
You know, I feel a responsibility to show up and put a smile on everybody's face that buys a ticket and comes and watches us play. And I always tell people, like, when you buy a ticket and you come and watch the Fever play, you keep coming back for more. And I think that goes for all of women's sports as well. So I think that's kind of my responsibility, but I don't always like put that on myself. Like I just go out there, have fun. It's what I do. I can't believe it's my job. Like I feel very lucky and fortunate. So
you know, it's funny. I was leaving the hotel. A little girl had a WNBA shirt on. She said, "I'm waiting for Caitlin to come out." And unfortunately, she saw me, and I wish she had seen you.
No, that's great as well.
She also said she feels very lucky and fortunate to have her job. And sitting there next to Carmelo, Vince, and T-Mac on a national NBC broadcast, she actually looked like she meant it. That combination, the humility, the authenticity, the way she talks about fans like they actually matter, is exactly why people trust what she says. She's not pitching anything. She's just telling you what she sees. And with new markets coming online from Toronto all the way down to Portland, what she helped build is about to reach a whole lot more people.
I got to get back to you and your play. I know you were injured most of last season, but you returned to the court after, 8 months off?
Yeah, about
230 days or so like that?
No one was counting.
I was counting. But you came back for the World Cup qualifier. I'm just curious how it felt to be back in game situations and how you felt health-wise.
So let's talk about where Caitlin Clark has actually been, because the injury situation was serious. She played just 13 games in the 2025 WNBA season before a right groin injury shut her down in July. The league officially closed the book on her season September 4th. That's a long time away from competitive basketball, and coming back from that at her level isn't automatic. You don't just walk back onto the court and flip a switch. So what did she do? She went to Puerto Rico with Team USA for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, and she did not ease back in gently. She averaged 11.6 points per game and led the entire tournament with 6.4 assists per game. Team USA went a perfect 5-0, and she walked away with tournament MVP. On the NBC desk, she said, "I really did feel like myself. I feel really healthy." And after 8 months away, that's not just a good quote. That's the whole story right there.
You can simulate it as much as possible, but there's really nothing like putting on your uniform and lacing up your shoes and getting out there and playing. And obviously it was a little bit different of a situation. You know, usually I would have done that with my WNBA team, but doing it at the senior national team level and making my debut obviously added another element of maybe a little anxiety or nervousness. But more than anything, I really did feel like myself. I feel really healthy, and a lot of people put in a lot of time to help me get back there. And it's crazy to think it was 8 months. And
then the conversation shifted to Nikola Jokic. And this is where the desk really came alive. Clark called him probably my favorite player to watch, and flat out said he's the best player in the world.
Joker talking about his injury, missing an extended period of time. I thought about you too, because you've been through that, and the first time it happened was last season. So just returning and seeing how the Joker now averaging almost a triple-double, leading the NBA in it, How is it hard to return back to that type of form?
Well, I think your greatest ability is your availability, and you certainly learn that when you're sitting on the bench. But I also think it teaches you a different aspect of leadership and being a great teammate. But he certainly didn't miss a beat. I think everybody knew he was going to do everything he could to get back. And there's not many people that average a triple-double, let alone you're lucky enough to get maybe a couple of those in a season. He's done it all year long in back-to-back years. So it's pretty incredible. And honestly, he's probably my favorite player to watch, and I think he's the best player in the world.
And Jokic, who was dealing with his own injury at the time, heard about it and responded on air. His answer? We have the same agent. That's why she said it. The whole desk completely lost it, because that's exactly the dry, deadpan Jokic humor that makes him so fun. He couldn't even take a compliment without turning it into a bit.
We had the same agent. That's why she said it.
But what made that exchange matter beyond the laugh was how Clark actually talked about Jokic's game. She wasn't just saying he's great and leaving it there. She broke down why he's special, the way he reads the floor, the way he pulls defenders out of position, the way his passing changes what everyone else on the court can do. Carmelo, Vince, and T-Mac are sitting right there at that desk. These are guys who played at the highest level for decades and have seen pretty much everything. And Clark was holding her own in that room, going back and forth with them, and not once did it feel like she was out of place.
I want to go back to something you said, Caitlin. You said you believe he's the best player in the world. Tell me why.
I think, no matter what, if you run two at him, he's going to make the right play. He's going to find the right pass. There's not many big players that can make the pass, make the right read, and he does it every single time, every single game. I think that's what I love about him. Obviously he has the scoring, but a lot of times you go and check the box score, you watch the game. He's taking 5 shots in the first half, but he has 12 assists. So no matter what the other team does, he's going to find a way to tear you apart.
And then she turned to 2026. And this is where the warning lands. She looked right at that camera and said the Indiana Fever are going to be the favorite to win it all. No hedging, no, we're going to try our best, no careful media-trained answer, just a flat, direct prediction from the best player in the league. And she didn't stop there. She named re-signing Kelsey Mitchell as the single biggest priority of the offseason, calling her the running mate in the backcourt that makes everything work. Because when Mitchell is on that floor, defenses can't just load up on Clark. They have to pick their poison. 2 guards who can both get buckets, both create, both punish you for cheating in either direction. Mitchell back in Indiana means Clark gets more space, more clean looks, more opportunities to take over games the way she did in Puerto Rico.
Last time they went to the finals was 2015. Okay, you guys made the semis of the East last season. You had to watch from the sideline.
Yeah, it was tough.
Expectations, goals of this season, what you got for me?
We were trying to win it all last year, and that's certainly what we're trying to do this year. It's a very unique situation. I think there's over 100 players in the league that are free agents. So we really only know about 5 people or 3 people that are going to be on our team next year, but I feel like we have a great core.
So Clark walked off that NBC set, having done a lot more than just fill a seat at the desk. She came in with a CBA that finally got done, an MVP trophy from Puerto Rico, and a championship prediction she made without blinking. That's not someone who's just happy to be there. That's someone who knows exactly where she's headed. And the pieces are actually there. She's healthy. The CBA is signed, which means players like Kelsey Mitchell have real financial reasons to stay put instead of chasing money elsewhere. The league is expanding into new markets. Indiana is already one of the most watched teams in women's basketball. Stack all of that together and the Fever aren't just a good story, they're a legitimate threat to everyone else in that league.
Our first priority is to sign Kelsey Mitchell back. Was first team all WNBA last year. Kind of my running mate in the backcourt.
Right.
She makes it really easy for me. So, there's nothing like playing for the Fever. I think we're going to be the favorite to win it all. It adds a little pressure, but that's what you love about it. And we got a great squad, a great coach, great support staff. So super excited.
Mitchell is the key piece, and Clark said it straight up on NBC. She's the first priority this offseason, the running mate in the backcourt who makes it really easy for me. And that makes total sense when you watch how Indiana plays. Mitchell averaged 20.2 points per game last season and made first-team All-WNBA. She pulls defenders away from Clark, she can create her own shot, and she makes defenses pay when they cheat. When those two are on the floor together, you genuinely cannot pick who to stop. So if the Fever get Mitchell back and Clark comes in healthy off that Puerto Rico MVP performance, the rest of the league has a real problem.
More than anything, just excited for the W season. I miss getting to play in front of all the fans in every single city, and especially our favorite fans in
And
Indianapolis.
it's funny, when she says feel like herself, she means the MVP of the World Cup qualifier. No big deal, no big deal.
Clark also said something on that desk that's easy to miss but actually matters a lot. She said, "I miss getting to play in front of all the fans in every single city, and especially our favorite fans in Indiana." That's not a talking point. That's a player who sat out most of a season, went to Puerto Rico to prove she's back, and is now genuinely hungry to get back on the floor. That kind of motivation is hard to manufacture and hard to stop. She also acknowledged that calling yourself the favorite comes with pressure. She knows people will hold her to it. But she said that's exactly what she loves about it. So she's not just making a bold prediction to generate headlines, she's inviting the pressure, which tells you a lot about where her head is at going into 2026.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to watching it for sure. You guys saw that May 9th against the Dallas Wings. That'll be the first time you see Caitlin back in her Indiana Fever jersey, but they're getting ready for training camp. That starts April 19th for her. But guess what? She's not really going to go anywhere. Caitlin's going to hang around a little bit.
Every other team in the WNBA heard what she said on national television, and they know she's not talking just to talk. She went to Puerto Rico and led a perfect 5-0 run. She helped push a CBA across the finish line that stabilizes the whole league. She's building something real in Indiana with real pieces around her. The Fever want to win it all in 2026. Clark said it out loud with the whole country watching, and with Mitchell back in the backcourt alongside a fully healthy Clark, there's not a single team in that league that should feel comfortable right now. Let me know down in the comments below if you think the Indiana Fever will win the 2026 WNBA Championship. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.